Good afternoon, Brooklyn, and thank you for waiting. I hope it's worth it. So I want to talk to you about building a culture of innovation. The experts agree that three things can help us build a culture of innovation: the right people, very hard to get, appropriate rewards and incentives. We're intrinsically and extrinsically motivated, and to find that balance is so important if you want to build a culture of innovation, a la Dan Pink. And finally, a common language. So enter the year of innovation. I wanted to build a culture of innovation, and I wanted to help our faculty understand the design thinking process. You see it right here. The design thinking process helps us solve ambiguous problems. You can Google that. And by solving these problems, it's important that we can do this if we're really to be good educators. This is what inspired me.
When I received the Project My Way box, it was a surprise.
I was just thinking, how did this come up?
It was kind of about designing what your dream phone was.
What kind of annoyed me about cell phones before was that you can't take pictures of yourself. So we put a camera in the back as well as in the front.
I want the biggest improvement to be is this chocolate milk thing down here.
My phone would be a part of everyday life. It has a toothbrush and a pen, piece of paper, and a camera, and then everything else a phone has.
My phone would talk to you, be it's your friend or something.
So there's two things in that we're all super familiar with right now, which is the dual camera and Siri. But I will now reveal to you that this is over 5 years old. And these were insights our students came up with when we asked them to rethink the cell phone. We followed that a couple of years later with a much bigger project, I should say, that involved the design thinking process, which we call Tools at Schools, where I had 44 8th graders, 15 faculty, and about 10 designers rethink the desk, chair, and locker. These desk, chairs, and locker were eventually produced as prototypes at a furniture factory in North Carolina. Went on display at the Mad Museum. They had a booth at the ICFF, the International Contemporary Furniture Fair. The kids beat out art colleges for design awards, and it got a lot of press. So we had this culture of innovation with our kids. They were very familiar with the design thinking process. So with the Year of Innovation, I thought, we've got to get our faculty on board with this. You know, our kids know what it is, they use it, but a lot of our faculty don't. So just over a year ago, I worked with about 2 designers and 100 plus of our faculty, and we started out the year by me asking them to rethink homework, discipline, lunch, grading, and recess. And this was a year-long project that ran August through April. And faculty met in groups of 10 once a month during faculty meetings for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And so that was probably 6 sessions. What I did with this is that in between sessions, I brought in guest speakers from outside the area of education. I wanted to expose our faculty to people who rethink stuff. So I brought in a chef who was working with 40 gastrochemists, and he was rethinking junk food. It's now on the market. I also brought in one of the co-founders of Kickstarter, Charles Adler, because I wanted them to see how he had rethought this whole funding thing. The idea was to inspire them and sort of introduce them to thinkers that thought blue sky and out of the box and could bring ideas that seemed impossible to real life. So we started out the year by, with design thinking as it does, with defining the problem. You know, if you don't define the problem, you end up with a solution that actually creates chaos and doesn't really fix anything. So the first thing we did was faculty defined a problem, any problem, and drew it out. That's called ideation. And at that stage, they distilled it, because that often helps to actually define the problem better. We pinned all of these 100+ problems up in our gym. And faculty could look and see, you know, were there similar problems, what were the same. That was a sort of a test exercise to introduce them to this process of design thinking. These would be some of their examples. I had templates built out to scaffold faculty through this design thinking process, because it can seem nebulous initially. And here you see some of those templates. I had chosen these topics that I told you, the lunch, recess, homework, grading, etc. And the first step to try and define a problem is to do your research. And research we normally tackle in two ways. We look at the history and we look at the landscape. If you don't look at the history, how do you know what's gone on in the past? You might find that the problem you're trying to solve has already been solved. So the first thing you do is you look at the history of that topic, homework, discipline, whatever. Second phase of that is you look at the landscape. What's out there right now? Because maybe there's something there that I can take and use. Then, when you gather all that research, you ideate it, you draw that out. You draw out that problem that you're trying to define. And when you look closely, you might find other problems, and these are what we call areas of opportunity. So, faculty researched, they ideated, and they came up with proposed solutions to these problems of homework, grading, recess, etc. At this stage, it was a case of how do we present these solutions? Do we stand up in front of the school and talk about them? I felt it had to be much, much bigger than that. So enter the pop-up. My idea about the pop-up was that actually classrooms are pop-ups. Teachers are continually popping up classrooms in the fall. They change halfway through the year. Some teachers pop up classrooms every day by moving to different rooms. So I took that idea of the pop-up and just sort of amplified it. And we generated 5 pop-up houses. We'll see these in a second. And we call this education innovation. And these pop-ups were put in various parts of the school. You'll see here on 5 different floors. And a pop-up dedicated to each topic that the teachers looked at and rethought. That's the 1-minute pop-up. It actually took about 4 hours to construct. So here's a homework pop-up which sat in our library for a couple of months. And we invited, obviously our students were around looking at this. We invited all our families. We invited anyone who wanted to come in and look at these solutions that our teachers had come up with. These pop-ups were about 10 feet high and about 6 feet wide by 6 feet. And the ceiling of the pop-up, you would have seen it in the first slide, would have the ideation or the initial solution that the teachers thought might be a good solution. And at the side were their sort of final solutions. And these final solutions would be, at this stage, ready to prototype, which is the next phase of design thinking. Here's a close-up of the lunch pop-up. This sat in our cafe for about 2 months, so there was a lot of interactivity with this. And you see here in a bit more detail some of the teachers' solutions here saying what if lunch was a menu. What they meant by that is after doing research, it sort of seemed that lunch wasn't about food, it was about a conversation and it was about activity. And so based on that, we're prototyping right now the activity lunch, where kids, they're finished lunch in 10 minutes, so let's do an activity for the rest of it. It could be a knitting lunch, a chess lunch, whatever it is. Here's the grading pop-up. Sat in our art studio for a couple of months. Again, you can see the original ideation of the problems that the teachers defined up top and their proposed solutions at the end. The grading is also going through a prototype phase at this stage. As I said, that's the 5th part of the design thinking process, where the 8th grade have decided, well, why does their type of report card, their grading, need to be the same as the rest of the school? Here's a close-up of that grading pop-up. So the other prototype that we're also, which I think was very insightful and that we're working on right now, is recess. And the interesting thing about recess is that recess always followed lunch. And in an urban school, that's really tricky. You know, we have a roof for the kids to play in, so trying to get 500 kids on a roof all at once. So the insight that came out after the sort of talking a lot about recess was that why does recess have to follow lunch? Why can't recess just happen any time of the day? Seems very simple, but no one had ever thought about it. So now we have recess starting at 10 in the morning, and it can run till 2. Not that whole time, but teachers can take recess slots at any time that works for them. So after 8 months, we've built a common language. That common language you see in front of you, which is about the design thinking process. I think the design thinking process is important for educators. It can be used to solve all sorts of problems. Thank you.